The power of silence. What if the weapon that could change your life made absolutely no sound? No army, no money, no degree, just silence. You've been told your whole life, speak up, be heard, show them what you've got. But some of the most powerful people on this planet, they barely talk. Abraham Lincoln, Steve Jobs, Keanu Reeves. They didn't dominate rooms by being the loudest voice in them. They dominated rooms by being the most controlled. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how silence works, not as a weakness, not as shyness, but as a weapon. Let's go. Story 1. The fighter who never fought back. Picture this. It's 2012. A championship MMA fighter is at a press conference. His opponent walks up to him, chest puffed out, and starts trash-talking in front of cameras, in front of thousands. The crowd is waiting. The journalists lean forward. Everyone expects an explosion. The fighter just looks at him, doesn't move, doesn't blink, doesn't say a single word. 10 seconds go by, 15, 20. His opponent's smile starts to fade. He gets uncomfortable. He starts rambling to fill the silence. And in that moment, before a single punch was thrown, the fight was already over. That silence wasn't weakness. That was total, absolute control. The quietest person in the room was the most powerful one. Remember that. The science break. Why silence is a superpower. Now here's something that'll blow your mind. A 2013 study from Duke University found that 2 hours of silence per day actually stimulates new cell growth in the hippocampus, the memory and learning center of your brain. Let that land. Silence doesn't just calm you down, it literally rebuilds your brain. And that's not all. When you're surrounded by noise, phones, people, traffic, your cortisol spikes, stress hormones flood your body, your thinking gets cloudy. But the moment you go silent, that cortisol drops. Your prefrontal cortex kicks back in. You start thinking clearly again. This is why every great thinker in history had a ritual of silence. Newton had his solitary walks. Einstein had his violin breaks. Nikola Tesla spent hours alone, in total silence, before his biggest breakthroughs. Silence isn't empty. It's where genius lives. Story 2. The boardroom moment. Here's a story from the corporate world, and this one changes how you negotiate forever. A senior executive is sitting across from a difficult client. The client makes a lowball offer, almost insulting. A rookie would have said, "That's too low, we need more." But this executive, she said nothing, just held eye contact and waited. 15 seconds of pure, devastating silence. The client cracked, started explaining himself, then revised his offer upward without being asked. This is what negotiators call the power pause. Silence creates pressure, and under pressure, people reveal themselves, their doubts, their real limits, their desperation. The next time someone makes you an offer you don't like, don't react. Pause and let silence do the negotiating for you. The biggest misconception: silence isn't weakness. Let me address something directly. A lot of people think quiet people are shy, passive, afraid. That is one of the greatest lies ever told. Think about a lion. Does a lion bark at every animal it passes? Does it growl to announce itself? Does it need to prove anything? No, it moves in silence. It waits. It strikes when it chooses to. Now, think about the most insecure person you've ever met. What do? They fill every silence. They talk over people. They need constant validation, constant noise, constant attention. Noise is insecurity in disguise. Silence is confidence wearing no disguise at all. When you can sit in a room and not feel the urge to prove yourself, impress people, or fill the void, that's not weakness. That is the highest form of self-mastery. Story 3. The Teacher Who Said Nothing. There was a philosophy professor who was famous for one thing. Students would come to him with life problems, relationship struggles, career confusion, self-doubt, and pour their hearts out. And the professor would listen, completely, without interrupting, without advising. One student came in furious, ranted for 20 minutes about everything wrong with his life. When he finally stopped, he looked at the professor and said, "What should I do?" The professor leaned back and said, "You just told yourself exactly what to do, in the middle of your third sentence." The student froze, because he was right. Buried in all that noise was the answer, and only silence had the patience to find it. This is why journaling works. This is why meditation works. This is why a quiet walk at 6 a.m. hits different. You already have the answers. Silence is how you hear them. The observation edge. See what others miss. When you talk less, something extraordinary starts to happen. You start to see people clearly. Their tone when they say, "I'm fine," their eyes when they claim they're happy, the micro-expression that flashes for half a second before they answer. The person who is always talking, they miss all of it. Sherlock Holmes wasn't smarter than everyone because he knew more facts. He was smarter because he observed more. He watched, he listened, he let the room do the talking. In your life, in relationships, in business, and friendships, the silent observer always has more information than the loud talker. You learn who people really are, not from what they say, but from what they do when they think no one is watching. So, start watching. Talk less in meetings, listen more on dates, observe more in conflicts. Information is power, and silence is how you collect it. Story 4. The 10 seconds that saved a marriage. A couple had been together for 12 years, and on one ordinary Tuesday night, something small happened, a forgotten anniversary dinner. The wife was hurt. The husband came home late, distracted. She could feel the argument rising in her chest like a wave. Every word she wanted to say, sharp, damaging, irreversible. But instead, she paused. 10 seconds, just 10 seconds of silence where she chose not to launch the words she'd regret. And in those 10 seconds, something shifted. She saw his exhaustion. She remembered the week he'd had. She felt her own anger soften into something more like sadness. When she finally spoke, it wasn't an attack. It was a conversation. 10 seconds of silence. That's all it takes to go from destroying something to protecting it. The most emotionally intelligent people in the world have mastered this one skill, the pause before the reaction. Silence as identity. Here's a mindset shift that will change everything for you. Stop explaining yourself to people who didn't ask. Stop defending your choices to people who aren't paying your bills. Stop over-justifying your silence to people who mistake your peace for passivity. Confident people don't explain. They don't justify. They don't need your approval. And that silence, that quiet certainty, it's magnetic. Think about the people you've met who you immediately respected. They weren't the ones who talked the most. They were the ones who spoke only when it mattered. And when they did, every word had weight. That is not a personality type. That is a skill, a learnable, practicable, transformative skill. You can become that person, starting today. Every time you resist the urge to react, you build it. Every time you listen instead of interrupting, you build it. Every time you sit in silence instead of filling it with noise, you build it. Reputation by reputation, second by second, silence by silence. The 7-day silence challenge. I want to give you a challenge. 7 days, that's all. Day 1, wake up before anyone else. Spend 10 minutes in complete silence before touching your phone. Day 2, In your next argument or heated conversation, wait 10 seconds before responding. Day 3, in a group setting, speak only when you genuinely have something meaningful to add. Day 4, go for a 20-minute walk with no music, no podcast, no phone, just you and the world. Day 5, when someone asks your opinion, pause, think, then speak, not the other way around. Day 6, don't justify one decision you make, just make it, own it, in silence. Day 7, look back at the week. Notice how differently people responded to you. 7 days, 1 weapon, unlimited power. The closer and call to action. Here's what I want you to leave with today. Noise is everywhere. In your feed, in your notifications, in your relationships, in your own head. The world rewards the loudest voice, but history rewards the most controlled one. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers, full of strength, full of the version of you that doesn't need anyone's validation to feel complete. So pause, breathe. Choose silence not because you have nothing to say, but because you have everything to gain. If this hit different for you today, smash that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because every week we bring you stories and lessons that don't just motivate you for 5 minutes, they change how you move through the world. See you next time.